The terminal at Narita International Airport buzzed with the rhythm of afternoon chaos. Flight numbers flashed across the giant overhead boards. Luggage carts clattered across polished tiles. And the air swelled with the voices of travelers navigating check-ins, gates, and goodbyes. Outside, the gray Tokyo skyline shimmered under the mild spring sun. Inside, time ticked in quick, precise beats. At Gate C-17, the queue to international security snaked through retractable barriers. Businessmen muttered into Bluetooth headsets. Tourists scanned passports and boarding passes. A toddler cried somewhere near a vending machine. It was just another typical afternoon in Japan's busiest gateway to the world. But near the edge of the security lane, things were far from routine. K9 Rico, a 6-year-old German shepherd, sat poised, unmoving beside his handler, his dark eyes alert, nose twitching. His glossy coat reflected years of training and purpose. Calm yet charged, Rico was no ordinary airport dog. He was part of Japan's elite K9 detection unit. Trained to sniff out narcotics, explosives, rare chemical traces, and in recent years, biochemical trafficking materials linked to human exploitation networks. Beside him stood First Lieutenant Hana Morimoto, her black boots sharp against the sterile floor, her posture straight as a blade. She wore a tactical jacket bearing the insignia of the National Public Safety Commission, and a plain badge that bore the weight of years in counter-trafficking intelligence. Hannah scanned the flow of passengers, her trained eyes filtering for unusual behavior, nervous glances, unnatural gait, baggage held too tightly or too lightly. Rico shifted. Not a full move, just a lean. A pulse of motion through his shoulders. Hannah caught it instantly. "What is it, boy?" Rico didn't bark. Not yet. His head turned, nostrils widening. Hannah followed his gaze. Across the terminal, moving rapidly through the outer edge of the security checkpoint, was a girl, maybe early 20s, black heels, a cherry-red dress that shimmered in the light. Long dark hair tucked under a wide-brimmed hat. She walked with determined haste, her suitcase rolling smoothly behind her. Too smoothly. Hannah narrowed her eyes. "ID her," she said into the mic clipped to her collar. In the command center upstairs, a facial recognition system was already pulling data from the overhead cameras. "Working," came the voice through her earpiece. Then it happened. Rico barked. Loud, sudden, a blast of warning that ripped through the hum of airport life like a siren. Travelers turned, startled. A baby started crying. A coffee cup shattered on the tile. Hannah didn't ask questions. "Go." Rico lunged forward, leash slipping free from her practiced hand. He moved with purpose, not wild aggression, but trained pursuit. The bark had turned into a deep, throaty growl. The girl in red spun. Her eyes met Hannah's for half a second. Then she ran. The suitcase clattered behind her as she darted away from the security queue and toward the edge of the departure wing. A guard shouted. People gasped and stepped aside as the German shepherd bore down on her like a missile. "No, no, no! Get it away!" The girl screamed in Japanese. her voice high-pitched and raw. Rico caught the hem of her dress as she stumbled near the corner of a souvenir kiosk. His teeth clenched on the fabric. The sound of tearing silk echoed through the now silent concourse. And then something small fell. A tube. Thin. Glass. Cylindrical. It bounced once on the tile. Then rolled. An airport worker instinctively leaned toward it. Then stopped. The liquid inside shimmered crimson under the lights. Hannah arrived seconds later. Weapon drawn but lowered. Nobody move. She barked. Step back. People obeyed. A perimeter formed without protest. Rico growled again but didn't bite. He held his position next to the girl. Now collapsed on her side. Eyes wide. Breath heaving. Hannah quickly secured her. On the ground. Hands visible. No sudden movements. I didn't mean. It wasn't for me. I didn't know what it was. The girl cried. English broken but urgent. They said I had to. Please. You don't understand. Hannah kept her voice even. We'll get to that. But first. What is that? She gestured to the tube. It lay still now. A small crack forming near the cap. Do not touch it, she ordered over comms. Biohazard protocol now. Rico, stay. The dog obeyed, muscles tense but unmoving. His handler's command was final. Within seconds, 2 hazmat officers in emergency response gear emerged from a side entrance with a containment pod. The tube was lifted using specialized clamps and sealed inside a pressure-safe canister. Lieutenant Morimoto. A voice came through her earpiece again. Facial ID confirmed. Subject matches Interpol watchlist. Possible victim of trafficking ring tied to pharmaceutical smuggling. No direct priors, but connected to known aliases. Proceed with caution. Hannah's jaw tightened. The girl stared up at her. Lips trembling. I didn't know what was inside. They said if I didn't deliver it, someone else would die. Who gave it to you? Hannah asked. No answer. Just a haunted silence. 20 minutes later, the terminal was partially reopened. Passengers redirected through secondary checkpoints. A temporary cordon surrounded the incident site. Hazmat had swept the area. The red dress lay discarded beside a vendor shelf, torn at the seam where Rico had grabbed it. A few dark hairs clung to the rim of the hat the girl had dropped. Hannah knelt beside her canine partner. She ruffled his ears with a rare, gentle smile. You saw it before any of us. Huh? Rico gave a soft huff, tongue lolling out slightly. He'd returned to calm, ever the professional. Behind them, the girl sat wrapped in a thermal blanket, sipping water, her eyes watching Hannah from beneath furrowed brows. She's not a courier, Hannah said aloud, mostly to herself. She's a message. From who? Asked the airport's deputy chief. Hannah didn't look away from the tube now sealed in a triple containment pod. Someone who wants to prove they can move biological samples through the cracks of civilization. The deputy nodded toward Rico. If he hadn't reacted, Hannah stood. They picked the wrong day to try Narita. As she walked away, Rico padded beside her, the rhythm of his gait steady, his nose already twitching again. Somewhere, in the tangled web of international crime and desperation, A message had been intercepted. But this wasn't over. Not yet. The room was stark. White walls, stainless steel table, and a single chair bolted to the floor. A surveillance camera blinked quietly in the corner. Outside the frosted observation window stood 2 security officers. Hands clasped, eyes unwavering. Isolation Room B, part of Narita's anti-trafficking wing, had been built for exactly these moments. Inside, Mina sat hunched in the chair, shoulders trembling beneath the blanket she had been given after the incident. Her red dress had been replaced with standard-issue soft gray clothing. The hat, the heels, everything that gave her color, was gone. Lieutenant Hana Morimoto stood across from her, hands resting gently on the metal table. Eyes calm but searching, not accusatory, not yet. K9 Rico waited just outside the room, lying near the door, ears still alert. His earlier bark had begun an unraveling that now stretched far beyond the glass vial Mina had unknowingly carried. Hana broke the silence. "Your name, please." The girl hesitated, voice barely a whisper. "Mina. Mina Le. Nationality, Vietnamese. From Ho Chi Minh City. Purpose of travel, I'm a student. Was supposed to visit Tokyo for 2 weeks. I booked a group tour." Hana nodded slowly, watching every twitch of Mina's fingers. "We found something in your suitcase." Mina's eyes widened. "I don't. You had a false lining stitched into the fabric. Beneath it, our team discovered a biometric tracking device. Custom hardware, very expensive. Alongside it, a compression-sealed armband containing human DNA." Mina's hands flew to her mouth. "I didn't know, I swear, I didn't know they were in there." "Then how did they get into your luggage?" Hana asked gently. Mina broke down, tears streaming freely. "I thought I could run. I thought the airport would be crowded enough. That I could disappear." She looked up, her face flushed and panicked. "They're watching everything. Phones, cameras, people. They told me if I ever said a word, they'd kill my family. Back home, my brother is 10 years old. He doesn't even know why I left." Hana remained still. "Who are they?" Mina didn't answer. Hana sat down opposite her, lowering her voice. "Mina, I need you to understand something. That vial you dropped, do you know what it was?" "No." "It contained a synthetic blood compound, modified with encrypted DNA strands. We're still running analysis, but this is high-level black market biotech. The kind used in untraceable transplants. Identity modification. Or worse." Mina stared at her, confused. "Your suitcase wasn't just carrying illicit materials." Hana continued. "It was a test run. A proof of concept. Someone's using you to measure our defenses." Mina shook her head violently. "I didn't ask for this." Hana leaned forward. "Then tell me the truth. Who gave you the suitcase?" 2 hours earlier, airport security had taken Mina's luggage to a containment bay. Trained analysts in hazmat suits carefully unstitched the base lining of the bag. The hidden compartment was crude, rushed, likely done without precision, but its contents were anything but amateur. The biometric tracker was active. with encrypted pulses sent via a network that pinged off commercial satellite bands. The armband, while harmless on its own, contained dried human tissue embedded with coded gene samples. Grace, the forensic analyst, had reviewed the scan. "This tech isn't street level," she told Hannah via earpiece. "It's exfil grade, something we've only seen in East Asian organ trafficking ops or high-value target smuggling." "And the DNA?" Hannah asked. "Matches an undocumented female, likely Southeast Asian, age between 18 and 25. We'll need full sequencing, but the signature suggests prior synthetic tampering, possibly for erasure, clean slates." Hannah's jaw tightened. A clean slate. That term was too familiar. Used in underground rings to describe the process of stripping a person's identity, digitally, biologically, physically, and replacing it with whatever the buyer wanted. Another ghost added to the trade. Back in isolation room B, Mina clutched her hands in her lap. "I didn't know what they were using me for," she said softly. "At first it was just a job. Modeling, they said. Overseas photography. I met them through a woman named Lynn. Back home, she said she used to do the same. She looked rich, confident. I wanted that too." Hannah didn't speak. She let the silence fill in the blanks Mina couldn't yet say aloud. "I signed some papers I couldn't read. They gave me money. They said I'd fly to Japan, deliver a bag, then go shopping for 2 days. Sounded too easy, but I didn't ask." Mina looked down. "When I got to Tokyo, a man met me at the train station. Gave me a new suitcase. Told me to dress pretty for customs. Said I'd be invisible if I smiled. But then, he started texting strange things. Codes. Telling me not to talk to anyone. Don't open the bag. Don't ask questions." She wiped her eyes. "This morning, he sent one message. Just one. If you run, they bleed." I knew what it meant. "Your family?" Hannah asked. She nodded. "My mother, brother, and my grandmother. All still at home. They know where we live." "And so you ran," Hannah murmured. "I saw the dog. I panicked. I thought if I could just get past the scanners. Board a plane. Maybe they'd lose me. But I didn't make it." She looked up at Hannah, eyes wide with fear. "Are they going to find me here? Can you protect them?" Hannah took a long breath. "We'll do everything in our power." Back in the operations control room, Hannah met with her team. Rico sat at her feet. Quiet now, sensing the gravity in the room. "Everything Mina told us matches known activity along the Mekong Ring," said Grace, pointing to a digital map. "Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. Routes are being exploited for biotech and human cargo. This isn't random." Hannah leaned over the table. "If the tracker in that suitcase was active, then someone knows it was seized. Which means we don't have long before they go underground." Grace pointed to a blinking dot on the screen. "We traced the satellite ID from the tracker. It's bouncing off a regional proxy just outside Shinjuku. That's likely a monitoring post." Hannah stood. "Prep surveillance. And notify Interpol. This just escalated." She glanced down at Rico. "Let's finish what we started." Back in isolation room B, Mina sat in the quiet. A soft knock at the door made her look up. A young officer entered with a tray of warm rice and soup. "Don't worry," he said gently, in Vietnamese. "You're safe here. But outside those walls, in the digital shadows of Tokyo's alleys and foreign embassies." Eyes were already scanning for the girl in the red dress who had spoken. The game had changed, but so had the players. The sterile hum of the forensic laboratory was a familiar comfort to Lieutenant Hana Morimoto. Here, among humming servers, sealed specimen cases, and chilled analyzers, the chaos of fieldwork took on clear shapes, data, sequences, truths etched in code. She stood beside the lead technician, watching as the touchscreen monitor finished rendering the DNA profile of the crimson sample retrieved from Narita Airport. The moment the analysis was complete, an alert flashed across the screen. Match found. Hyojin Park, female. 19, reported missing. Seoul, South Korea, case opened 6 months ago. The room seemed to freeze. Hannah read the report quickly. Hyojin Park had vanished after applying to a cultural exchange internship in Southeast Asia. Her last known location was a private medical research center in Da Nang, Vietnam, registered under a shell company with vague medical credentials. No contact had been made since. "She's real," Hannah said aloud, "and she's still in circulation." The technician nodded grimly, "But the sample's origin date is recent. Less than 5 days ago. That meant Hyojin might still be alive." Hannah turned to the adjacent table, where the second item, the strange device found in Minala's suitcase, was being disassembled by a different team of analysts. The object had the sleek appearance of consumer tech, matte black. No visible branding. A smooth band designed to be worn on the forearm or bicep. "Medical?" Hannah asked. "Sort of," replied Grace, the team's biotech expert. "It's a biometric telemetry device. Used to monitor heart rate, skin temperature, hydration levels, and," she tapped the screen, "GPS movement. Some of these readings are beyond what standard hospital gear collects. Whoever made this didn't intend to save lives. They meant to track them." She held up a translucent vial. "It also includes a microfluidic sampling chamber. It draws small amounts of blood from the user and stores them continuously, like livestock," Hannah muttered. "Or human test subjects." Grace nodded. "This isn't consumer grade. This is black research. Illegal medical trials. Trafficking-linked organ preservation. Take your pick. Whoever's behind it is mixing biotech with human control." Back in the isolation unit, Minala sat with her knees drawn up, arms wrapped tightly around her legs. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steadier now. Hannah entered slowly, setting a cup of warm tea on the table between them. "Do you know the name Hyojin Park?" Hannah asked gently. Mina shook her head. "No. Who is she?" "She's the girl whose DNA was in the vial you carried." Mina stared at the cup. "She's a victim," Hannah continued, "like you, but she never made it to the airport." A long silence. Then Mina whispered, "They told me it was medicine." "Who are they?" Hannah pressed. softly. "I don't know their real names. They use code words. Texts disappear after a few minutes. But the man who gave me the suitcase had a scar on his neck. Right side. Snake tattoo under his ear." Hannah leaned forward. "Anything else?" Mina hesitated. Then, slowly, she reached into the waistband of her trousers and pulled out a small, crumpled square of cloth. Folded inside it was a torn piece of paper, creased, water-stained, but legible. Scrawled in black ink were 6 haunting words. Shirotech, Basement 3, don't look back. Hannah unfolded it fully. "You carried this with you the whole time?" Mina nodded. "It was sewn into the hem of my dress. By another girl I met in Saigon. She said nothing. Just gave it to me when the guards weren't looking. I think she wanted someone to find it if she didn't make it out." "Shirotech," Hannah repeated. "Sounds corporate. But why the warning?" Mina lowered her voice. "They have people everywhere. If you go after them, they'll know." Hannah stood, her expression unreadable. "Let them know." That night, back at Tokyo's Criminal Intelligence Division headquarters, Hannah and her team launched a full background check on Shirotech. What they found was troubling. Officially, the company didn't exist. No address, no phone, no license registered with any Japanese biotech consortium. But several shell corporations shared a parent entity with similar names: Shiro Biomedical, Shiro Solutions Limited, and ST Holdings. All funneled through anonymous accounts based in Hong Kong, Manila, and Kuala Lumpur. One branch operated a private lab under the guise of biomechanical rehabilitation in Shinjuku, underground. "Basement 3. That's our mark," Hannah confirmed, tapping the screen. The building was a mid-rise corporate tower. Generic, quiet, clean. It hosted multiple health research tenants on the upper floors, but 3 levels beneath ground were registered as private storage and research, by permit only. "We can't get a warrant fast enough," said Grace. "Not through official channels. They'll cover it up before we even make it past the elevators." "Then we don't go official," Hannah replied. She turned to Rico, who lay by the equipment locker, watching her with calm focus. "We go quietly. We go tonight. 2 hours before dawn." Hannah, Grace, and 2 trusted agents from the Special Investigations Unit arrived outside the building marked in Mina's note. Their van parked 1 block away, shielded by a row of vending machines and trash bins. No uniforms, no visible weapons, just quick efficiency. A microdrone was launched first, sweeping the outside for surveillance. The windows were dark. The lobby was quiet. One janitor mopped the floor, headphones in, oblivious. The elevator, according to the blueprints, didn't show Basement 3 on its keypad. But the drone's infrared scan had revealed a hidden secondary lift behind the stairwell wall, accessed by biometric reader. "Same as the device in Mina's bag," Grace whispered. "They use the same system to monitor and enter." Hannah reached into her coat and held up the black band they had recovered. It was still active, repurposed by Grace's hacking kit. She tapped the fake vitals reading on her tablet and synced it to the device. The elevator beeped. A door clicked open. They stepped inside. No one spoke. As the lift descended, a faint chill crept in. Not from temperature, but something deeper. The sense that beneath Tokyo's sleepless skyline, something monstrous had taken root. The doors opened silently. Basement 3 was unlike the sterile lobby above. It was dimly lit, with chrome panels and brushed steel counters. Rows of sealed cases stacked on the walls. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic, and something else. Metal, decay. They moved forward cautiously. No guards, no cameras, just a faint hum of machines. Then Grace stopped. A sealed glass chamber stood in the far corner. Inside it lay a hospital gurney, and on it, a young woman, pale, unmoving. Tubes snaked from her arms into a network of machines. Her name tag hung from a plastic band on her wrist. Park Hyo-jin. Grace covered her mouth. Oh my God, she's alive. Hannah moved forward, checking vitals. Stable, sedated, but alive. Then a sound, a hiss, a click. The hallway lights flickered, then dimmed. Someone had triggered the lockdown. Hannah grabbed her radio. Secure the room. We're not leaving without her. As they moved to protect the chamber, Rico stepped forward, ears raised, body stiffening. The enemy had arrived. But this time, they weren't ready for the ones waiting. Tokyo's skyline shimmered in pre-dawn silver. But beneath the quiet hum of city life, something sinister festered. 3 levels underground, beneath a nondescript corporate tower in Shinjuku. The truth waited behind steel walls and bio-locked doors. An illegal biotech laboratory hiding under the name Shirotech. Lieutenant Hana Morimoto crouched beside the security panel at the freight entrance. Her gloved fingers working quickly over a digital override module. Beside her stood Rico, the German Shepherd K9. Poised and silent, his ears high, his nose twitching toward the thin scent of sterilized blood and ammonia. The air vented out of the lab carried more than recycled oxygen, it carried secrets. Override confirmed, whispered Grace through Hannah's earpiece from the surveillance van parked 2 blocks away. You're in. Hannah nodded to her team, 4 officers from Japan's National Counter-Trafficking Division. Dressed in tactical gray and moving with silent precision. Each bore the same patch on their shoulder, a stylized K9 head over a shield marked SPU-9, Special Protection Unit 9. With one last glance at Rico, Hannah pressed forward. The door slid open with a mechanical hiss. They entered quietly. The corridor inside was lined with smooth walls, dim LED lighting, and locked doors bearing numbers, not names. The atmosphere was clinical, but not lawful. Hannah could feel it. Every breath reeked of illicit medicine, chemicals not regulated, and lives not protected. Thermal imaging confirms 4 heat signatures deeper in North Corridor. Grace's voice crackled in her earpiece. One moving, others, low activity, could be restrained. Rico suddenly growled low. His tail stiffened. He turned sharply and padded forward down a hallway lined with storage crates and supply cabinets. Hannah followed without hesitation. We have a lead. Rico's on scent. Behind her, the team advanced with weapons lowered but ready, assault rifles set to stun. Safeties off. As they turned a corner, Rico stopped at a sealed white door with no markings. Hannah examined the panel. No number, no keypad. This wasn't meant to be found. She gestured to a tech officer, who pulled out a portable signal decryptor and attached it to the biometric scanner. "Breach in 20 seconds," he whispered. Inside, footsteps echoed faintly. Hannah drew her weapon, signaling a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Crack. The door burst open. They stormed in. The room was dimly lit. Air thick with antiseptic and something darker, fear. Rows of glass biopods lined the walls, each one containing a restrained human form. Most lay unconscious, connected to cables, tubes, and monitoring equipment. All were women, young, sedated. Some had monitors implanted directly into their arms, the same device that had been found in Mina's suitcase. Then Rico barked. Sharp, focused, directed. He darted to the far wall, where crates and lab containers were stacked haphazardly. Behind them, concealed by a sliding steel shelf, was another door. No thermal signature, Grace reported. Rooms lead-lined. They're hiding something inside. Hannah moved fast. She signaled breach formation. The second door was kicked open, revealing a scene more horrifying than any simulation. In the center of a cold, tile-floored room stood a surgical table. An array of bloodied instruments laid out beside it. Harsh white lights above cast no shadows. A girl, no older than 17, lay restrained on the table. Her eyes glassy with terror. She was conscious, but paralyzed, likely from a controlled paralytic drip attached to her IV. She had a biometric band clamped to her upper arm, identical to the one recovered from Mina's suitcase. Standing over her was a man in a lab coat, surgical gloves halfway on. His face was calm, professional, even as he turned toward the armed squad now entering. He froze. "Hands where we can see them," Hannah shouted. The man raised his arms slowly, voice flat. "You don't understand. She's already been prepped. I can't let her die with open tissue." A stun shot cracked through the air, striking him in the shoulder. He dropped with a thud. Hannah rushed to the girl's side. "It's okay. We've got you. You're safe now." The girl blinked slowly, tears slipping from the corners of her eyes. "She's conscious," Hannah said to the medic. "Counter-agent now." The officer administered a reversal dose while another removed the biometric tracker. Rico stood nearby, growling low at the man now unconscious on the floor. "Tag him," Hannah said. "He's not just a surgeon, he's a trafficker." 20 minutes later, the rest of the compound had been secured. A total of 11 victims were found across 3 hidden rooms, each one fitted with tracking bands and physiological monitors. The equipment was packed for transport. Data drives were collected. Backup arrived, escorting the women to triage units prepared above ground. Grace's voice came through Hannah's headset again. "Interpol confirms identity of the man you shot. Drive. Arata Shinazuka, former lead researcher for Nishi Biolabs." went off-grid after being accused of unethical human experimentation 5 years ago. Now he works in a basement for traffickers. Hannah muttered. So much for ethics. Get this. Grace added. The company he worked for, Shirotech, bought its assets 2 years ago. Everything matches. Device specs, research logs, genetic material patterns. We're looking at a full-scale organ trade disguised as experimental biotech. Anything else? Yeah, those armbands. They transmit vitals to cloud servers traced to a proxy in Eastern Europe. Mina was just one of dozens. As dawn broke over Tokyo, Hannah stepped out of the underground corridor, her uniform damp with sweat, her pulse slowly calming. The city yawned awake above her, unaware of the hell that had festered just beneath its feet. Rico walked beside her, his paws tapping against the clean concrete. One of the rescued girls, still wrapped in a thermal blanket, watched Rico as he passed. She didn't speak, but her lips moved in silent thanks. Minala stood nearby, under protective custody, watching the scene with a mix of guilt and relief. Hannah approached her. You saved more than yourself. Hannah said quietly, that paper in your dress. It gave us everything. Mina looked away. I just wanted to live. You did more than that. Hannah replied. You helped others live too. Behind them, a new day began in Tokyo. The investigation into Shirotech had only just begun, but one operation, one raid, had changed everything. And Rico, tail wagging faintly, sniffed the breeze and looked forward. Another mission was done. But the fight was far from over. It began with a single image. A young girl wrapped in a thermal blanket, being led out of a Tokyo basement by uniformed officers. Behind her, shattered glass pods, bloodied instruments, and the fallen sign of a company that was never meant to be found, Shirotech. Within 48 hours, the image had circled the globe. Japan uncovers black biotech organ trafficking ring beneath Tokyo Research Lab, read one headline. Survivors rescued. International syndicate exposed by K9 unit in Narita raid, read another. Even more powerful was the video footage. A German shepherd barking sharply as he led officers into a hidden room. A bark that broke open a door, and a secret. The world paid attention. News networks ran special coverage for days. From Seoul to São Paulo. Analysts, activists, and prosecutors weighed in. Interpol opened joint investigations with 5 countries. Victims in Vietnam, Korea, and the Philippines began to come forward. The biometric devices, once used to silence and track, became the very evidence that convicted those behind them. The face of the story, Mina Le. Her first public appearance was cautious. Filmed in a private courtroom with a screen dividing her from reporters. She wore a simple blazer and spoke in soft, halting English, but her words were strong. I was afraid. I thought I had no choice. But when I saw the dog, when I saw how he barked at me, I knew someone saw me. Really saw me. That's when I decided I couldn't be silent. Mina was granted full immunity from prosecution under Japan's Protection of Victims of Organized Crime Act. More than that, she became a protected witness. placed under special relocation status and enrolled in a trauma-informed education program in Tokyo. Her testimony was vital. She had seen the faces, heard the names, knew the routes, the methods. She remembered the girls who disappeared before her. And thanks to her memory, and the scrap of paper hidden in her dress, international warrants were issued for 9 traffickers and 3 front companies operating under the Shirotech network. The Japanese government, facing pressure from global human rights groups, launched a full audit of its biotech licensing systems. Enforcement protocols were overhauled. Biometric devices became classified as controlled medical instruments. Bioethical law was no longer a gray zone, it was now a priority. And at the center of it all stood 2 figures, a woman and her dog, in a quiet ceremony in the Ministry of Public Safety's marble courtyard. Dozens gathered beneath cherry blossoms in soft bloom. The scent of the season floated gently through the air, mixing with the low murmur of press and personnel. On a raised platform stood Lieutenant Hana Morimoto, her posture as precise as ever. Though something in her gaze had softened. She wore a new insignia on her shoulder, a golden pin shaped like a shield, marked with a stylized DNA helix flanked by wings. It was the badge of Unit 01, Japan's newly formed Biotech Crimes Response Task Force, the first of its kind in Asia. She had been promoted to captain, selected to lead the unit into the next chapter of global criminal defense. Trafficking was evolving, now, so were those fighting it. Beside her sat Rico. His fur had been groomed, his harness polished. He sat with dignified stillness, the tip of his tail brushing gently across the stone. An official stepped forward with a small, velvet box. On behalf of the National Public Safety Commission, and in honor of his service in exposing the Shirotech case and assisting in the recovery of 12 lives, the Speaker announced, "We hereby award K9 Officer Rico with the Medal of Valor and Distinguished Detection, the first of its kind." Applause erupted. Even Hannah, not one to show emotion in public, allowed herself a brief smile as she knelt beside her partner and clipped the silver badge to his collar. "Good boy," she whispered. "You earned it." Rico gave a soft woof in response, low, steady, proud. Weeks passed, and though the story faded from front pages, it didn't fade from memory. It found its place in textbooks, in seminars, in courtrooms. It became a case study in collaboration between species, between humans and machines, between victims and justice. And it saved lives. One crisp morning, Hannah returned to where it all began. Narita International Airport. It looked the same as always, clean lines, glass panels catching early sunlight, travelers in constant motion. But today, Hannah wasn't there on duty. She stood just outside the security checkpoint in civilian clothes, a cup of coffee in hand, watching the river of people flow. Rico stood beside her, alert but relaxed. His silver badge still hung proudly from his collar. "I always thought airports were places where stories end," Hannah murmured. "Turns out, some begin here too." A child tugged on her mother's sleeve nearby, pointing at Rico. Is that the hero dog from the news? The mother smiled. I think it is. Rico glanced at them, ears flicking. Then he turned back toward the crowd. Hannah looked out over the terminal. She saw a businessman with a laptop bag, a tourist group with selfie sticks, a woman in a red coat, but this time smiling, laughing, free. She saw the world moving, unaware of how close darkness had crept beneath its feet. And she knew they were safer now, not because evil was gone, but because it had been seen, because it had been barked at. Suddenly, Rico's ears twitched. He stood tall, nose high, eyes fixed on the distance. Then, without warning, he barked. Once. Sharp, echoing. Travelers turned, startled, but nothing was wrong. Hannah didn't move. She just watched him. Rico. The dog who had once pulled a thread that unraveled an empire. A single bark, cutting through noise and sky like a warning. We are watching. We will always be watching. And in that sound, the world was reminded, light doesn't chase shadows because it is brighter. It chases them because it refuses to blink.
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please comment 1. And if you didn't, just hit like. See you in the next videos.